Hey, welcome back to the Travel Ones podcast. Today, my guest is Velvet Rodeo, a country duo, Bryan and Leah, based in Nashville, originally from the Carolinas. How y'all doing today?
We're doing
Great,
great.
great.
Thanks for having us back again.
I had to look it up. It was August of 23.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So it's
Been a
kind of
while. Yeah.
22 months. Yeah.
A lot has happened since
Just a
then.
few things. You guys are working hard and on the verge of blowing up.
Uh, we have been working hard. This year's been a big year,
Yeah.
basically in February, which was our 3-year anniversary of moving to Nashville. We signed our first record deal. So yeah, so
That's
it's been a
right.
big year.
Very exciting.
So we just got to, you'll be new, what is it? New artist of the year or whatever after several years of work.
Yes. Yeah. That's how it always works.
Yeah.
Yeah. They came out of nowhere.
Uh, They're so lucky.
Yeah.
They didn't even work for it.
Yeah. Exactly.
What we've learned is the harder we work, the luckier we get.
That seems like life though, right?
Yes,
It is.
absolutely.
I mean, you should be busy in life anyways. You might as well put it towards something you enjoy and you're good at.
Sure. I mean, yeah. And as traveling and living in a tin can is not always easy either. So
That's a
that has challenges as well.
well, you got out of the school bus though. Now you're on a touring bus. So that's a little
Right.
nicer.
We've upgraded. Another exciting addition to this year.
Yeah.
Which again comes to headaches because everyone's like, "Oh, you're so lucky," and then you're like, "Ugh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
lucky in
Super,
some ways."
super.
I don't know how you feel about your bus, but I tell people about the RV life. I go, if you're not good with tools, don't buy one because
Mm,
you're gonna need tools.
Yeah. I'd say it's pretty on the money. I mean,
right.
I don't have, hopefully you don't have to do too much, but
Yeah,
always, it's just like a house, there's always something that's happening, going wrong. Things break, you're moving down the road. So it's
yeah.
going to happen.
That's what I tell people. I'm like, I go, I'm not talking table saw and joiners but I mean, a good electric drill, some duct tape, um, some wire cutters, all
Yeah.
come in handy.
Yeah. We've had quite a few. We've actually had a few little small incidences since we got the new bus, and it's amazing. Kind of, you have to become very like handy with you kind of MacGyver some things
Yeah,
sometimes. You
exactly.
said duct tape and yeah, screwdriver. That's kind of it. Yeah.
That's
At
that.
least until
That's
you
what
can
I
get,
found.
yeah,
That,
at least until you can get back. But unfortunately, with the Prevost buses, nothing's inexpensive. So,
well, that's why you're making all that big money.
oh yeah, the streaming numbers
Oh yeah.
yeah,
We got to get our 0.0003 of a cent every time we get a song streamed on Spotify.
Let me, I could earn you a third of a penny. No, I'll do it later.
It's not even a third of a penny.
yeah,
It's
it is like a
it's
third of a penny.
is it a third of
Yeah,
a penny?
third of a penny.
Okay, just
It's
you know,
ridiculous.
put it on mute, just stream it over and over again.
Exactly. And unfortunately, there are artists that do that.
Oh yeah. I mean, it doesn't help you though. It doesn't come.
Well, the rumor I heard was Beyonce's country album was number one because Jay-Z had paid for the bot farms to pay for plays.
Unfortunately, that's how a lot of things work these
Yeah,
days. Yeah, the followers on social media, the streaming numbers on Spotify, and it's you're paying for that. It's marketing really, like you're paying for that
100%.
advertising of the numbers.
I just wonder where the payoff is, though. I mean, she gets to say she had a number one hit or number one, country album or whatever. So I guess that's something. But
Well, for us, I mean, everybody looks at numbers, and for us, where we are in our career right now, we want to book bigger events.
yeah,
So, in order to book bigger events, you have to have bigger numbers, and so that's why some artists are, buying those numbers just like you would buy a magazine ad back in the day. You know,
100%.
uh, however, the downfall is if we were to buy streams or buy social media numbers or whatever it is, and we get hired by a large venue and then we don't pull a crowd.
That's exactly where I was going to go.
Yeah, yeah, it's a slippery slope, so you have to be really careful. And I think marketing's still a great thing, but buying numbers is just never a viable thing.
Right. It's not worth it.
Well, I was gonna, like, I mean, like you said, it's like you get to play, say you play the opera, but there's only 250 people there.
Right.
You know, so you lost money because they're not going to pay you for having 250 people come, but you get to say you played the opera.
Well, I think we would take that deal actually.
Oh,
Just to play on the Opry stage,
Uh,
that's actually one of our
well,
biggest dreams.
yeah, they don't pay you to play the opera anymore.
And
right.
we live right down the road, so it wouldn't be that much in fuel.
So, yeah, exactly. Isn't that that's something I don't think a lot of people think about because yeah, like this week I'm going to put probably 800 miles on. And then you start going 15 miles to the gallon. We're paying 550 a gallon here.
Oh, wow.
So it adds up.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
a real number.
It is very
We get
real.
more like 6 to 7 miles to the gallon, but then our fuel cost is a little bit lower than that.
It's
Yeah,
all
we're the cheapest I think we've seen here in Tennessee is about $3. So
oh, that's awesome.
yeah, I know. Well, diesel,
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm on with my RV too.
Oh, okay.
It's like 550, 519, 540.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you have really nice roads though, right? California.
They're relatively nice. Yeah. Might as well enjoy them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I
So
mean that's the thing of when you travel, like you're in your bus, but and you can cook and keep food on the fridge and all that, but it's still traveling.
yeah, it is. And I think kind of what's been different for us than a lot of artists is, and maybe not a lot, but I would say most of the artists, we actually live on our bus full time, even when we're not touring.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's kind of actually better because we don't have to transfer things. So Leah doesn't have to transfer all her outfits,
All the outfits.
all that. It's all
All
on the
three of
bus,
them.
and we're ready to go. Yeah, all three.
Three
Yeah,
300.
add a couple
Mindset.
zeros. So yeah,
Because that's exactly what I'm going to be doing in about an hour from now. It's
yeah,
transferring all of it out of my car into my RV so I can have it for the road. And then when I get back, I'll have to transfer it back.
yeah. It's more difficult for us to do shows in Nashville now because if we're using our own equipment, we have to unload it from the bus, put it in a truck, go to the venue,
Yeah.
unload it, and the reverse of that. So, if we're on tour and we have to use our own equipment, it's right there on the bus. So it's just unloading and loading. So yeah, it's a lot of things. Fuel is definitely, I think the first month we were really on tour with the new bus. We
Yeah.
spent about $2,000 in fuel
Hmm.
that month.
Junk. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we had that problem with the steering. Was it the steering fluid that was leaking?
yeah, yeah. Our first trip out, we it was a problem with the steering was leaking, and I thought, my naive thoughts about a bus, I thought it would be a seal or gasket or something like that, and maybe a couple $100, and $4,000 later.
Mm, mm. Every time we would make a turn in the bus, we would literally leave a trail.
Fluid.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
it's funny you say that because my our first trip we bought the RV. We were like, we're just gonna go to a local kind of campground and I think it was in Santa Barbara. And yeah, Ojai. And then I'm like, hey, well, just that way I can see where everything's at because that next week I was going to go on the road with it. Well, what I didn't know to check was when you swivel the captain's chairs, that the wiring harness should be tucked up underneath it tight, and it wasn't. So when I spun that captain's chair the first time, it sliced all the wires,
nice.
which was to the airbag system. It set off the alarm. I couldn't turn the alarm off.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I'm like freaked out, panicked, taking the fuse boxes. I was just like, holy shit. So I didn't take it that week because I had to take it into the dealership. thankfully, that was a known problem that they had with the captain's chairs, and it was under warranty.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. But
I thought you were gonna say you duct taped.
I was close.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hot
But yeah,
wire.
just I mean, something stupid that I mean, now if I go to look at an RV, I'm going to look underneath everything too.
Right.
Right.
I would have seen the bird's nest of wires hanging underneath it. So,
I think I think well, we've been in this situation a few times because we travel from Nashville to Western North Carolina so much, and especially with all the damage from Hurricane Helene to Interstate 40, going through the gorge, we have to go around certain things, and um, we've been on some roads that you should not be on
with that bus.
In the
in
bus.
in a
No.
45-foot Prevost bus. Yeah.
We've had to turn around down some of these really narrow, difficult roads, and you're just holding your breath the whole time, like, because you got
100%.
low slung power lines and ditches on both sides. And oh my goodness, like, I swear we don't breathe when we have those situations happen.
Well, at least one of us doesn't.
I don't, I'm not breathing. And then a lot of times we're traveling, touring a lot. We've got these festivals that we're doing during festival season. And I want to know why every festival has to be down in the cutest little downtown area with the tiniest
No
street.
parking.
There's no room for a big old bus with all the equipment in it.
And we always tell them that we're going to be in a bus, and they say, no problem, no problem at all. You can
Not
park
for
in
them.
a lot, like right next to to the venue. And we get there, and the lot is, like a 20 by 20 lot that's got
Exactly.
a chain link fence around it or something.
Like, it's not a van. It's an actual bus.
Yeah.
That's when you're like, no, it's a real bus.
Well, they say, they're like, oh, we've had buses here all the time. And
Yeah.
then we show up, and they're like, oh, we didn't know you meant like a bus. And I was like, yeah,
We
that's what we said.
we pretty much said BUS.
A
So,
45-foot bus. Yeah.
yeah.
We learned to be more specific.
Let me ask you this question. And on the 45-foot Prevost, when you get a crosswind, is it yanking you guys pretty hard, or are you pretty settled?
Yeah, it's pretty settled because we're at like,
I mean, I'm in an RV, so
right.
I'm like, whoa,
Yeah, yeah.
whoa.
We're probably lower to the ground than you would be in your RV because the Prevost buses, they ride a little bit lower than a typical RV. And then you're also looking at 40, 43, 42, 43,000 pounds.
Yeah,
So
I'm not
it's
that heavy.
yeah,
12 or
yeah,
14.
pretty heavy. Yeah. So we're good. When a like a big commercial truck, transfer truck,
Yeah.
is passing you on interstate, yeah, it's kind of weird. It's a weird feeling. It's actually hard to describe what happens, and I know it's something to do with the aerodynamics of the two things that are, going 70 miles an hour down the interstate. But it's this weird, like little. It almost kind of pulls you into the
Sucks you
truck.
in, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I've had to just kind of mentally know that it's coming, and you know,
The thing that freaks Brian out the most, I feel like, going down the road is when he's got one of those massive trucks beside him on one side and then one pulls up on the other side and he's sandwiched in between. I
Been there,
think that's
done
his
that.
nightmare. He's like, get me out of here.
Slow down, speed up, something.
Yep. Yep. Just get out of there.
yeah. It's but it's part of what we do. So,
Yeah. How much? I was gonna say so. It's end of June. How much traveling have you done this year?
A
How many
lot.
days?
We started in January,
Yeah.
right? One of our first shows was in Ohio when it was -9 degrees out, and we found out that severe cold is not good for a bus. So we're planning a more southern route next winter.
So that way you don't have to have frozen lines.
that's
Yeah,
right.
right. That was our second repair
Yeah.
on the bus this
Yeah.
past January.
Yeah, it's amazing how an airline, you think it's air, right? It's not going to freeze, but an airline, yeah, we had an airline
We had an
freeze.
airline freeze, and then we were coming home. We were driving back on the bus from one of the shows in Ohio, and I smelled a really bad burning smell, like burning rubber. And the fire alarm went off. Couldn't get the fire alarm off. And I looked over at Brian and I said, I don't know a lot, but I think it's a belt. I think it smells like a belt that's burnt up.
It was a belt.
It was a belt.
That's a good guess.
Oh yeah, I know.
I mean, it wasn't a tire. We would have felt that, I feel like, but
Yeah.
we went through that belt. But luckily, we had a spare.
That's the other thing is having extra fuses, extra,
Yeah.
extra everything.
Thankfully, the person who had the bus before left all of that. We had a bunch of other parts, like spare belts and even an extra windshield that I hope never to need.
Ooh,
That would be
not fun.
not good.
So you hit Ohio in January. I know you
Yeah.
did a little rodeo run.
Yeah, we've been it's been really fun. We've been doing a kind of a regional Southeast rodeo series and it's been a lot of fun. There are probably 3 to 4 thousand people at each rodeo, and
That's awesome.
we play basically an hour before the hour leading up to the rodeo. They pull our stage out on a flatbed trailer,
Yeah.
and then when we're done playing, they pull the stage out and they start doing broncs right after we're done.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool though, right?
The crazy thing I think to me is they we're so close to the chute gate, like all the gates
Yeah.
for the broncs and the bulls and all that, and so they can get things going
They're getting
quickly
them
after
ready.
we're done. They actually start loading the broncs in the gates in the chutes right behind us when we're singing. So sometimes it seems I can't turn around and really
Yeah.
look because we're performing.
Right. Sometimes you'll have bulls like ramming the gate right behind us
Yeah.
while we're performing, and
Yeah.
wow, I mean, there is some powerful animals.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's don't ever get on one. That's my best advice.
Ooh, we
Yeah.
were at one rodeo we were performing at, and one cowboy rode the bronc. I think he got thrown, broke 2 ribs, and still got up and rode the bull during the bull round later.
Of course he did.
It's that is some kind of crazy.
So playing a rodeo is a lot easier than being in the rodeo.
Yes. 100%.
Yes.
We know we're getting paid, because they come and
Yeah.
I mean,
You don't
90,
make it. You don't make it.
99% don't get paid.
Yeah.
It's a tough life, and they have to pay to enter in. They have with the regional rodeos, it's not a lot, but
No,
they
I
actually,
mean I think that's the number one thing that as because we sponsor several cowboys. One of the things they want is just pay for my entry fees.
right.
So they're still going there and free clothes and all that. But I mean if we cover their entry fees, it's just a huge help.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had no idea really. It's there's a lot more to it than I've gone to rodeos my whole life, but being kind of behind the scenes and being able to see what's going on, you know, behind the scenes of everything has been
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, and like you said, if you have backstage passes basically, so you can hear what they're
Yeah,
talking about afterwards too.
right, right. Um, yeah, and it's amazing how much the Bulls fight. Like in
Yeah.
they've got them staged in these fenced in areas, but those Bulls they just fight each other all the time. So
Oh,
they're constantly having to separate the Bulls or do whatever because they just don't get along, as you could imagine.
that's I mean they're definitely bred, and there's a breeding to ones that are ranker than others. Just
Mm.
get a rank bull, it's a rank bull. But
Yeah,
I know that the contractors, stock contractors, treat them exceptionally well, especially like when we go to NFR and I'm back in the shoot area. I mean, they're cleaning them, feeding them, petting them. I mean, those contractors love those animals.
yeah. Well, they have a lot of money invested in them, and
Yeah,
uh, it's amazing. You don't think about like when we go do a show, when you're in your own world, you kind of that's what right? And so for us, it's equipment, it's guitars and
yeah,
amps and speakers and all that, and we're like, okay, how do we get all of this stuff and a band and whatever else to a new location? And they're having to haul uh gates, fencing, animals, feed. So it's a big production.
Mhm.
And then their trailers break down too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I get a lot of those fun stories. So this, like I said, it's, it's not super easy for anybody, but a lot of people think like, oh, that's got to be so easy, or that life's got to be easy, or, but like they say about me, it's like, oh, you're so lucky you get to drive around California and live in an RV and sell stuff. Well, but I could go out tomorrow and not make a penny,
right.
even though I spent all that money to get up there.
I
There,
mean, I
there's so much that people don't realize that happens behind the scenes to get ready. We actually had someone ask us the other day, they said, "Do you get bored like during the week with all your extra time in between shows?"
And you're like,
And
yeah, no.
I almost didn't know what to say. I'm like, I keep looking for this extra time and I haven't found it yet. But there's so much people don't realize with like social media is just one side of things. The marketing, the actual booking of all the shows, and the getting to and from. It takes sometimes a whole day or several days to get to the next show where we're going to play. So there's so much that we have to do in between the shows. Like the show is the fun part, but everything else in between is kind of what we get paid for.
Yeah, well, the phrase I use a lot, Leah, is I drive for a living and I do meetings in between.
Mhm.
it's a great way to put it.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's like last week I did what, 6 hours of drive for a round trip day down to San Diego, 6 hours of driving, and I had maybe 3.5 hours of meetings. So just is
Yeah.
what it is.
We're the same way. We'll go and drive for 6 hours and then have a 2 hour show.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we try to stack like you do with your meetings. We try to stack our shows up, but it doesn't always work out that way.
Right. I think our longest drive we had was a 17-hour drive to Concan, Texas. And we did break that one up over 2 days.
Yeah.
We didn't drive it all the way straight through,
Yeah.
but we were opening for Clay Walker, so it was definitely worth it.
I was gonna say, so you made that trip.
Yeah. Yeah. We made that one.
Yeah. No complaining on that one. He's a
No.
nice guy too. I don't know if you met him, but he was. I met him once when you're at NFR, and he was super nice.
Okay. No, we didn't get the chance to meet him that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah. Well, he has MS, and so I think he has, better days and
Not
not
so
better
good day.
days. Yeah. Yeah. So we try to just stay out of the way as much as we can. So,
I hear you.
you know, yeah, we do our thing, do our job, and try to entertain everybody that's there when we're on stage, and then
And then you get off.
yeah, then it's not our turn anymore.
But I always, did I ever tell you my Hank Williams Jr. story?
No.
So, wow, 40 years ago, maybe 38 years ago, my friend that I worked with was friends with the guitarist in his band, the Bama Band. And they were coming in town. And so my buddy goes, hey, do you want to go to the Hank Williams Jr. concert? I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, well, we're going to meet the band at the hotel and then we'll take the bus over. I'm like, cool. I'm like 19, 20. And I'm like, so are we going to meet Hank and all? He goes, yeah, probably. I mean, I said, cool. So we go to the Bama bands. They had their own albums. They had their own music. And Wayne Animal Turner, his nickname was Animal, was the contact, the guy that my buddy knew. And so we meet the whole band. They're all cool. They're all laid back. And I'm like, this is awesome, right? We go there and we take we take Hank's bus. Hank's not there, by the way. We take the bus over to the amphitheater, so we see all the fans kind of, checking out the bus and all that. Hank's not on there. And so we go and we go, hey, Animal's like, hey, we're going to go in the green room. I go, all right. We go in the green room. It's Waylon Jennings, Wolfman Jack. And I'm like, okay, this is pretty
Wow.
cool. So we're just sitting there like, wow. So we got the Bama Band, Waylon, Wolfman Jack, and then like four computer nerds. That was us because we had a computer software company. So it was like we were just the geeks. As they called us the helicopter heads. And so we were like sitting there, and Hank's still not there. So the band goes, okay, it's our turn. I want to say it was Highway 101 open for them or somebody. But so we go side stage. It's my first time ever being backstage and all that ever, right? So I'm just like, wow, this is so cool. Hank's still not there. The band goes on the stage. They start playing. He's still not in the building. And we're like, okay, 'cause we're looking around for him. And all of a sudden, there's like, you can kind of hear a commotion. We turn around and here he is with his, what do they call it? His future ex-wife. Um, he walks and comes on stage. Hey, Costa Mesa, thanks for coming out tonight. Da, da, da. And just like he'd been there for, ever. Does this whole show. They do the encore. He gets off and walks off with his future ex-wife into the car and leaves. The band is still playing the slow down music,
That's funny.
and he's gone. He is literally gone. And I'm like, so they get done, they come off, and I'm like, do you guys like ever see Hank or talk to him? And they're like, if he likes the show, he'll hang out for a little bit or take us out to dinner or whatever. But if he's got to be somewhere, or he didn't particularly like the
Yeah.
show, then no, we're on our own. I'm like, that was just the way it is.
Wow.
We did that the next year, and exact same thing happened.
Wow.
Like, never saw him, never met him, never talked to him.
So the promoter of the rodeos that we've been performing at, he of course he's been in it for years, and he was telling us a story about he hired George Jones
Oh,
to
wow.
come play one of his rodeos, and he's like, a huge crowd there to see George, and he comes. They had similar setup, they had a stage set up for him and everything, and big bus, and they had two buses. There was George's bus and then the band's bus.
Yeah.
And he said that George came out on stage and he played about 15 minutes. And then he waved to the crowd and he walked out and got on the bus. And he's like, I'm out in the audience watching this, right? And the band's still playing.
Yeah.
And he's like, then the bus lights, all the lights come on the bus, and his bus pulls out of the rodeo. And he's like, I went to the guy, the manager that had booked the show.
Yeah.
And he was like, what's the issue? And he's like, well, he only played 15 minutes. He said, well, look at your contract. And he's like, in tiny, tiny, tiny letters at the very bottom of the contract, it said, George will perform between 15 and 45 minutes.
And it was 15.
And like you said, same scenario, like the band's still playing.
Yeah.
But George is gone.
It made sense that, I'm sure Hank had worked out saying, hey, play for 2 minutes, keep playing for another 2 minutes, because that way he can get out of the amphitheater area before even the crowd starts leaving. Like no one had left yet. So he had no traffic. He got back to his hotel or whatever he had to go. And
Right.
the band was just like, all right, that was a good night.
Maybe Velvet Rodeo will be there one day.
But we won't leave. We'll stay and meet everybody afterwards.
Well, I was going to ask you that because, he grew up being Hank Williams Jr. It's not his fault. His dad was famous and a great singer,
Right.
but you guys, after your overnight success happens, it's do you ever think you'll be that way?
No,
We
I don't think so.
Well, we hope not.
Yeah, because scheduling.
Yeah,
Sometimes you're going to have to leave.
Yeah. Scheduling, and it's already become a little bit of it. We've had a few times instances where it's become an issue where, hometown people thought that we were going to be able to hang out and we couldn't because of schedules. And
Yeah.
they understand, but then we've had some people to kind of not get angry, but just, you've kind of like hurt their feelings a little bit
Right.
because you didn't recognize them or you didn't hang out with them
or remember their name. Like we're meeting so many people, and we love the relationship building and the fan building side of things, and we love everyone who comes to our shows. And I try so hard to remember people's names as much as I can, but every now and then it's just tough, and it's getting harder and harder.
Let me know your secret because I work NFR every year, right? So I'm there for 10 days, and a lot of the same people come every year. And they'll be like, hey, Pete, how's everything going? And you remember you sold me those boots 3 years ago. And I'm like, oh, I've sold a few pairs in between then, you know.
Right, right.
It's like,
Sometimes I'm just honest, like
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
give them a hug and I'll be like, I'm like, forgive me, I remember you, but remind me of your name again.
yeah,
Like just, sometimes it's just as simple as that, and they're usually really understanding and good with it.
yeah, 100%. And then once you, I guess we should get into heartstrings.
Oh,
Oh yes, the other exciting
the other
announcement
big
for
news.
2025.
Yeah,
So heartstrings, not only just a song, a reality-based TV show highlighting the lives of Brian and Leah as they travel the country,
that's
spewing
right.
their music out to everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Super, super fun, cool opportunity. We're part of a new network here in Nashville. It's called American Country Network, and currently well, this summer I think they're going to be in roughly 40 plus million homes, and they approached us about doing a show about basically what you said, that Leah and I's adventures.
Right, everything that we've talked about.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna
So
be.
kind of,
It's gonna be weird, I think, to actually see behind the scene kind of stuff.
yeah, it's strange for us because the things that will make a great TV show are the things that we kind of look at as just normal everyday life.
Yeah,
Right. Right. And it's hard to remind ourselves, we just go about our normal everyday life, and it's hard to remind ourselves, oh, I need to set up the tripod or,
yeah,
turn on all the cameras that they've outfitted us with. And, it's kind of like having Big Brother on the bus with you a little bit, like filming what we think are the mundane or, behind the scenes things, but things that have to get done for the show to happen.
yeah. Is it weird knowing that you're on camera?
Think we're getting used to it. We're kind of finally getting the rhythm of it. I think the tough thing for us is I'm so used to social media, and that's more of the highlight reel. We're
Yeah,
showing fun places we're playing or the outfits we're wearing, and this show is going to show like the nitty gritty, like the struggles in between, or when we burn through a belt on the bus, or break down, or all the hard times, which we typically don't tend to show people, but that we're definitely going to show in the show.
I, you know, I've talked to several up and coming country artists. Let me ask you this question: how do you guys stay positive? Is it just each other? I mean, because it's a struggle. I mean, there's times when I'm sure, but at different times you guys have said, "What are we doing?" And
That's a cool
I'm looking at Leah's face.
question.
Yeah, I think in we have a different situation than 99% of everybody in music businesses. There's not that many true like groups anymore, like the Alabamas of the world.
Yeah,
But I think our situation is very unique in that we're doing it together. And I've often said that I don't know how a solo artist actually, I think they surround themselves with other artists so that they get that support that they need. You kind of have
hmm,
your built-in support system. And that's one of the great things about Nashville is, that's the part that people don't see. They think of Nashville and they're like, oh yeah, Lower Broadway and all the bars and everybody's drinking and singing and bachelorette parties and all that good stuff. But they don't see the creative hub of Nashville. And it's always been like that. You were talking about Hank Sr., I mean, their whole thing was they would go out on tour, and then they write while they're out on tour, and then they come back and they write more, and then they record while they're here in Nashville, and then they go back out on tour. So I think for Leah and I, it's different because we do support each other, but then on the flip side of that coin is we also challenge each other more. And so it's kind of like we have to find the balance of love and the business. And I really think that's really at the core of Heartstrings, the show,
yeah,
is that it's that struggle of chasing a dream, being in a business that is notorious for being so difficult,
yeah,
and doing it all while trying to to maintain a relationship and stay in love and live on a bus.
I was gonna say, you know, I think you're my only duo. I'm trying to imagine how if Brian was a solo artist and Leah was an accountant, you know, so
Right.
that's got to be a tough mix.
Right. I would never see him if he was the artist traveling around doing shows and I was an accountant probably in an office somewhere working 9 to 5.
Yeah,
Those relationships are hard to keep up.
and vice versa. I mean, Leah could be
Yeah.
the solo artist, and Brian could be
Right.
the
Right.
And that's why you see artists and they're often with a future ex-wife or ex-husband.
100%.
And it's just part of it, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's great that you guys are coming up together. Like, if you met each other now and you've already had a certain level of modicum of success, where you guys ground up,
Yeah. I mean, that's
that's going to
happened.
help.
And most of the duos that you can name are already, two successful artists that came together. The
Yeah,
Tim Faiths of the world, that are married, but they, each in their own right were very successful on their own. So, George and Tammy, I mean, Johnny Cash and June, and it's like all of those duos in the past that are relational, I call relational duos.
it
Um,
made sense though, right? I mean, Johnny's out touring with June and her
oh
family.
yeah,
Right.
You just meet and you go, yeah, we got a lot in common.
opportunity. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Versus the once in a whiles.
yeah. I guess that puts us in the once in a whiles because we met doing musical theater, which I guess you could kind of say is similar, but and then decided to create Velvet Rodeo together and do something that was bigger than the two of us, really.
What do you think, Leah?
What's that?
What do you think?
Um, yeah, I absolutely agree. And, we met doing the musical, but we were also both singing out and performing. I was doing, smaller like art galleries and vineyards and things like that. And Brian was doing more of the honky tonks. And when those worlds collided, we still felt like we were kind of on the same level. And it is great being able to just do it together. And that's what makes it different. Because I was kind of thinking about all the other duos like Sugarland and Thompson Squared. I think Thompson Squared is the only other duo I can think of that are actually like married together that started together.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. It's very rare.
It's very rare.
I think we talked about this on the last episode, on the first time we talked, was will there be any jealousy if Leia has a breakout moment and all of a sudden the spotlight hits her a little brighter? Like, if the record people start saying, "Hey, you're good, Brian," but Leia's, you know,
Brian is always trying to do that
it could
himself.
be.
He's trying to push me out front.
Well, I mean, you know, it's difficult in music. Let me see if I can word this the right way. One of the great things about being a a top artist, let's use Luke Combs as an example. When you hear a Luke Combs song, you know it's Luke Combs.
Yeah,
There's no doubt. And for a duo, that's a little difficult because we both sing, we both showcase our vocals in different
yeah,
songs, and so it makes it a little more difficult to not that it's never been done, but I think what Leah's saying about me pushing her out is like I really want her to be out front. I want her to be that superstar because I think she deserves it, number one, and I think she is that person. I think that's the person that she really was meant to be, and um, I'll have my moments, and that's okay. And we've talked about that from the time we started Velvet Rodeo. But it's nice because I think we've reached we're seasoned, I guess now, and now we've seen the moments because she'll have people come up to her and think she's so amazing, right?
yeah.
And there'll be shows where everybody's coming up to me and they think I'm like the star of the show,
Right.
you know.
So we feel kind of we're well rounded and we have something for everybody that comes to the show, whether they tend to like a female vocal more or a male vocal or a classic sound or like a bluesy sound. We've got what they want when they come to our show. And as far as like us being out front, like in different songs, like there'll be songs where my voice is more showcased or where Brian's is more showcased. But I kind of see us more like Lady A, because you have the male vocal and the female vocal. And he does some songs, she does some songs, but when they come together, like you know that's them.
Agreed. I'm trying to think of anybody else, Sugarland's kind of like that too, right? I mean, Christian doesn't really sing too much, you know.
Right.
Jennifer Nettles, she's out front more.
Yeah. But he still sings and he's still the harmony and right? I mean, that's so
Right.
Yeah.
we
But
need
she's definitely the front person of the,
Right.
yeah.
of that.
Well, that's what I was saying. That at some point, are you gonna make Leah the more front person, or is it going to be
Well,
the push for Brian? Is it going to depend on?
well, no. I mean, I think you said something about, if a label starts to talk to us about, making Leah the star of the show kind of thing. I think at this point, what really makes us so different is that we are in a relationship,
Yeah.
and Sugarland is not.
Right.
Lady A's not. Right. They have their own lives outside of that. This is our life, and so I think anyone that we align ourselves with, we align Velvet Rodeo with, whether it be a label or a TV show or whatever it is, it's got to be understood that we're a package deal.
Right. And we made that very clear with the record label during our very first meeting at the really long table in the really important room when we had that conversation that we are a package deal. We come together and there's nothing that will separate us.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I can't wait to see the Heartstrings. It's going to be awesome.
We're really excited. The other exciting thing about the show is that the label gave us the opportunity to write the theme song for the show. So they're really excited about the way that it turned out, and we're really excited for everyone to hear it when it comes out on July 3rd. The show's going to air every first and third Thursday of the month.
The same episode, or it'll be a new episode the first?
New episode.
New episode.
New episode.
Okay.
Yeah, so every 2 weeks you'll get a new behind the scenes look at Velvet Rodeo and our struggles and our triumphs, I guess.
Are you going to be able to? Did you get the rights to put it on your own YouTube page or your own social?
That's funny. We just had that conversation this past week, and basically what we'll be doing is, obviously pushing people. They'll be pushing people to our website,
yeah,
our YouTube and everything, and they'll be linked together. So I really didn't realize you could do that, but there'll be one entity and it'll all be, housed at ACN, but we'll have links on our YouTube page so that our fans can watch it there, or they, whatever. It's all the same thing, but it's just linked on both places.
Is it, the what is it? The SEO is interesting for Velvet Rodeo because of another artist using the name for different things.
Yeah.
But it's you guys still came up. I Googled you today and I was like, you were the top right there at the top.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully that's kind of, dying down for everybody that doesn't remember the story. It's actually how we met.
We don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I like I said, I think that's, has kind of become history a little bit. And so now all the positive things that we have going on are kind of overtaking the SEO world on Google. So
that is a thing though, right? I mean, that I know Brian and I have talked a lot about the business side of the music industry, the graphic artists, the social media that Leah handles on a lot of that. And like so many artists that are very good don't have that component.
Yeah, we're super fortunate that we split that up, and Leah handles a lot of the most of the social media.
Right.
So yeah, we're super fortunate that we kind of have the background and the abilities and things like that we have.
We make a good team together.
Well, yeah, I mean, Brian's got the graphic artist kind of patched up and comes up with the colors and the schemes and all that. which, like I said, a lot of people don't do that. They
Yeah.
think maybe it'll happen when they get big, but what if they never, you know?
Right, right. We've had so many compliments on what the website looks like and the logo design that Brian has put together, and just like how well branded Velvet Rodeo is.
Yeah.
And we recently learned, I don't know if you know Dave Rose or follow him on TikTok, but he discovered Lainey Wilson and was her manager for a long time,
Okay.
beginning. And we've kind of struck up a relationship with him. And he let us know the other day that he still manages certain bands like Striper and Parmalee and a few others. And he actually points them towards our social media as an example
What
of
to
how
look for.
to be. And that was the biggest compliment I've ever gotten.
It's just because a lot of people don't like it. You know, I'm a guitarist or I'm a singer, songwriter. I don't do social media. It's like, wow, okay.
In today's business, and it is, you know, it's the music business, and a lot of people forget that. You know, we see it all the time. We see artists uh, that move from their small town where, you know, they were a kind of a big fish in a small pond kind of thing. And
You should write a song like that.
yeah, I know.
That'd be
And
a
then
good one.
they come to town, and then, you know, they're just not equipped, you know,
Yeah.
and that's why I say we're so lucky to have the tools in our, you know, between Leah and
Right.
I to be able to do the things we do, because in today's world, you have to be a publisher, you have to be a writer, you have to be a musician, you
A
have to be an art.
videographer.
Yeah, you have to be all those things. And even with Leah, you know, she does a lot of our the stage
Outfit.
wear and outfits that we have on stage. You know, she makes those. She makes, and I won't give too much away, but in the episode, you'll actually get to see her making some cowhide koozies. She makes those
Okay.
to sell at our shows because, you know, we can't afford to buy a cowhide koozie and then sell it and make any money, you know. So um, she's so amazing. Like she
I
does.
like to be creative and
Yeah,
get
yeah.
out the sewing machine whenever I can.
That's what you do with your downtime. There is no
Yeah,
Oh,
downtime.
all of it. Yeah. All the
Yeah.
spare time. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, your spare time is figuring out ways to make extra cash to pay for the gas bill.
Absolutely.
yeah. Pay for the fuel to get us up and down the road. And
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
but at the end of the day, you know, you mentioned that the other artist had picked up our name and used it after being exposed to it down on Broadway. I will say, you know, that whole thing kind of blew up because of the one mistake that she made, and that was forgetting the fans.
Yeah.
And you know, whether it's social media or our fan club members or the people that follow us on social media or people that we meet at a show, that truly is at the core of everything that we do. Like it's our favorite part. Our absolute favorite part is meeting new fans, and you know, while they might not be long like relationships, you know, like you have with your neighbors or your family or something like that, they are relationships for us. And I think for Lee and I both, we've had these conversations, and it's our favorite part. It's why we do what we do.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say I always tried, people say, "Oh, have you met famous people?" I go, "Well, sure, I've met famous people, being in Los Angeles area. What are they like? And I'm like, "Well, what kind of day did they have?"
Right.
Right? I mean, I've met some people that I was like, "Wow, I'm not saying hi to that guy today." He didn't look like he was approachable. And I get it. I mean, he might have just been told, his tax bill was bigger than he thought, or his wife cheated on him, or his dog died, or I mean, you have no idea what happened in
Right.
people's
Never
lives.
know.
Right.
So
But I will say, you know, we choose to do this, and we put ourselves out there
yeah,
on stage and in front of people. And so we also have to be understanding on our side too, that people don't know that we've had a bad day, or they don't know that we've just gotten bad
Right.
news. So I think I think for any artist, period, whether you're uh Carrie Underwood or, you know, the little girl that plays guitar and sings solo in her hometown, you're always gracious and you always remember that you do it because you have people that love you and love your music and support you.
I was going to ask you about that. That's a perfect segue because, you know, I have bad things going on in my life at different times. And then when I go to my sales meeting, I mean, I could have just almost gone to three accidents and the guy just flipped me off and blah, 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 right? But then when I go into my store, that has to go away, you know, because the last thing I want to do is complain about my life. I want to make sales, you know, and it's got to be like that with the show. With, you know, like people need to know that your belt burned up and transmission fluid was on the ground and the parking lot was too small, because when you guys come out, it's Velvet Rodeo time.
Right. I mean, I think we are both born performers, I feel like. And so when we step onto that stage, none of that, whatever happened, you know, with the bus or anything like that, it just kind of fades away. And it's just that moment between you and the crowd. And I mean, for me, like, I don't think of anything else during a show.
So let me ask you this question, and I truly don't know the answer to it. Would you ever be offended if someone was taking a picture of themselves at your concert?
No, oh no. We, we actually we want them to take photos at our
I
show.
would think too. It's
That's
like
the biggest compliment, you know. They want to treasure that memory, like that experience at one of our shows.
that's what that's what I don't understand about what happened. It's just like I can't even imagine being so offended that I was going to publicly berate fans that are trying to take a picture because they're at my concert.
Yeah, I
It's wild to
I
yeah,
me.
just I just don't get that.
and I can't answer the scenario, obviously, just like you said. But for us, I mean, we can only say what we would do, and that is we encourage it. I mean, we love when
Yeah.
fans, especially young kids, you know, want to come and take photos. They
Yeah, that's what I
love
mean. It's like that's kind of
love
cool.
Leah. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, it's the coolest thing ever.
yeah, it's the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Leah has done such a good job, especially from a social media standpoint, of taking a chapter out of Taylor Swift's book of
Sure.
fame and rise to fame. And, you know, she really, I think, early on kind of committed to answering to every fan. And, you know, I don't know that she can do that at this point, but,
Yeah.
uh, you
I
know,
mean, I feel like that's something I would have done anyway, but definitely, you know, watching Taylor Swift do that throughout the years, it's made me make it a priority. And I've actually come to really enjoy doing it. And also, you know, that helps me remember these fans when I see them later and I'm like, oh, that's Danny. He lives in Virginia, you know, and it's people we've not even met in person yet, but enjoy our music and listen to us or, you know, saw that we won the Josie Awards and started following us after that, and I just love interacting with them. And lately, some of our posts have blown up a little bit more, like when we signed to the label or announced the television show. And you know, we'll get 600 comments. Now
Yeah.
that's a little harder to answer everyone, but I do my best.
For the first hour or so.
Right.
Like you get through 550, you're like, it's only 50 more.
well, you know, and you always hear the stories, and it's obviously it's not happened to us yet, but you hear the stories of superstars that, you know, after their concerts, they're signing, doing a
Yeah.
signing or whatever, and you know, people will be there till 2 o'clock in the morning, and these people will sit there and sign until the last person has gotten their
Right.
autograph. And to me, that's the difference between
Yeah.
someone that appreciates what the opportunity they've been given to entertain people, because it of all the things, you know, that are a downside to it, the travel, not knowing about money, not knowing if you're going to, you know, be a success or not. It truly, to me, has always been the biggest part of what we do. It's a gift
Yeah.
that we actually get to entertain people. And I will add to that, like, by saying when you write a new song or you have a song out and you're doing a live show and there's people in the audience that are singing along every word to your song, and you've never met this person.
Yeah.
And it really is, it's a hard feeling to describe.
It's surreal. It doesn't feel real in that moment.
I just I'm with you. It's like I can't imagine, like you said, something that you personally wrote, and then someone else is just singing along to it. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's a good vibe. I just saw an artist he was backstage signing autographs, and the arena staff was like, "Hey, you got to shut this down." He's like, "You can turn the lights off. I'm signing all these autographs. I'm here till the last one."
Yeah.
Wow.
He didn't say it like a jerk. He just said, "Matter of fact, like you can do
Right.
what you got to
Yeah.
do, but I'm here."
Yeah.
And he just kept signing, talking to the fans at the line.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I'm like,
And
how hard is
people
that?
remember, and they remember when you know, you do the negative things too.
Sure,
So for that more, but
True.
I
True.
mean, staying there all night signing autographs, that's something they'll never forget.
100%, right? I mean, like imagine 20 years ago, me, you guys being the up and the kids, and oh my gosh, that'd be that could make a difference in someone's life, and and you'll never know it. I mean,
Well,
yesterday I was in the garage, as you know, and I was working through my samples and doing all that. And my wife comes down and she goes through some of her stuff and she's like, "Oh, here's the ticket from her sixth grade when she went and saw Olivia Newton-John in person in concert." And she still has the ticket stub and the pictures and all that. Like,
Fascinating.
okay,
That's so cool.
I
but
mean, I think that's the thing that makes music so unique is that it evokes memories, it takes you back to that moment, your first car
100%.
or your first date or whatever, and it's such a powerful thing.
Okay, so you guys have mentioned the Josie Awards. You don't swear a whole lot. I'm trying to think if I've even heard you swear.
You probably never heard me swear.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm just trying. So you're not Christian artist, but you're Christian based faith, and it's a big deal to you.
It is. It is. I was the worship leader at my church back home before even moving here, and I grew up my Mima taking me to vacation Bible school every year, and yeah, it's definitely something that's important to me and important to both of us.
Because you mentioned Striper and Harmony.
Mhm.
It's like okay,
Right, right.
yeah. But obviously it doesn't matter to you if someone's not. If they're fans, you know.
Oh no,
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 no, I mean, I think we're both just very real people. Um, we're believers. I think it's
Yeah,
not that I think there's like very religious, and then there's Christians or believers or whatever. Just knowing that,
right,
you know,
right. The Bible tells us to love everybody, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're nobody's perfect, and we're in no place to judge anybody else. So we just
that's not your job. That's why I always tell people I'm like it's not my job to judge.
yeah.
That's going up a level to me.
yeah, that's I always try to think of, when I think about something, I always try to think that I'm the worst person that I know because, I know all the thoughts that Brian has, and I don't know all the thoughts that Pete has. So I try to just, that's how I keep myself centered is, and grounded, I guess is a better word, is that I'm the worst person I really know. So,
Yeah, that's true though. Yeah, that's a really good way of thinking about it.
yeah. And, for us, it's, we are judged a lot. We've been judged for singing country music and singing in church and singing
Right.
in a bar and singing in church. But if you go back to there's one really famous person in history that was judged for the same reason, and he's the one that died for everybody. So um, I think it's just it's a it's a it's a human thing. It's just a people thing. We're all people, and we all have our good days and bad days. And I think though, when you start to put too much of yourself in religion or your belief or whatever, and it becomes what you're doing instead of just realizing that we're all messed up. Uh, you know, it's easier to have grace for somebody when you can look at yourself and go, you know what? I'm just messed up. Like I don't have all this together. So
Yeah.
oddly enough, we're working on a new album. So that's another cool thing that we have in the works right now. Uh,
That's where it's going.
yeah, I thought maybe we're we're working on this new album, and I called an old pastor friend of mine, and I asked him because one of the questions that surrounding one of our new songs, uh, it it's gotten a little bit of I say a little. There's been two out of the 1,000 people, that have mentioned anything about it, but it'll be our first single that's coming out in July, and it's called "Raising Hell and Hallelujahs." And at face value, sometimes people that are
Not listening to the lyrics very
Yeah.
carefully can be offended by it, but if you actually listen to what the words that are being sung, you'll understand it a lot better. It's
100%.
it's been interesting. It's been a fan favorite at shows. It's not even out there yet, and
It's
we're
a
getting
great song.
requested that song. Thank you so much. Yeah,
yeah,
I love it. I love singing it, performing it, and then there's just some people who maybe hear a word there, hear a word there,
Yeah.
because it's a new song for them. They're not catching all the lyrics all the first time, and I think they're putting their two and two together, and they're not loving the way it's coming across.
But like you said, that's 2 out of 1,000. I mean, but
Right,
those two,
right. But those
hey,
are the ones you remember, like we were
I'm
talking.
the same way. I
yeah. We
get,
certainly we
yeah,
never
yeah.
want to offend anybody either, So, but I did have a conversation with an old pastor friend of mine, and he spent a lot of time in Nashville and down on Music Row, and he's an amazing piano player, but he's also an amazing preacher. And I called him and I was like, I have a question for you, because I really think that this is a difficult thing to talk about. Is why do you think people judge you in a church, but when you go to a bar, they don't? And he had this like moment of like very thoughtful, mindful
He had to take
moment.
a second,
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, he kind of came back to sometimes, he's like, we really just need to look at the church and realize that sometimes we forget that we don't have it all figured out, and I think a lot of times in those enclosed things of church or religion or something like that, and I think that's what Jesus meant when he was out. He was being seen with the sinners of the day, right?
Yeah.
And the heretics didn't like it because they thought
Right.
you had to be a certain way to earn God's favor. And um, really, it's like none of that really. It does matter, but there's nothing you can do to earn it. And I think that's where people kind of get lost in their own way. I
I think a lot of it's intent. Like,
think
what's the
so.
intent behind your lyrics? I mean, so yeah, you say raising hell, but what's the intent behind it? What do you mean by, like you
Right.
said, get into the
What's
lyrics.
your definition of hell raising?
Right.
It's different for everybody.
For
And
us, it's pretty light. So,
I don't know about that, but whatever.
uh, yeah, but yeah, it's an interesting thing, because we never shy away from it, but we also we never want to offend anybody either. But obviously, you can't go through life and you can't put yourself out like we have and not
Yeah.
expect to potentially offend somebody. So,
Right.
but like you said, I hope that they'll always see the intent behind songs that we write.
Yeah. I've had so many bizarre comments on my YouTube page for my episodes and people being completely nasty towards my guests and all that. I mean,
No.
huh?
Oh no.
Well,
The
but
internet's not kind sometimes.
well, yeah. I mean, I interviewed a guy who worked on an oil rig out in the Gulf of America now, right? So,
Right.
but so he lives in Columbia, Tennessee. He drives down to Louisiana, takes a helicopter over to the rig. He's on the rig for I think 4 weeks at a time. Then he comes
Right.
home for 2 weeks. So I mean, travel wise, I mean, that's business travel 101, right? How
Right.
dare you put somebody on your show that promotes the use of fossil fuels, which is killing the planet because of climate change and blah blah. I'm like, Just talking about how this guy's balancing his
Like
family
the
life and
work.
kids.
Right, right.
I'm not
Yeah.
doing climate change this week. It's like that's a different show. That's somebody else's show. But he
Yeah.
just gave him the whole right. I didn't know this guy. He wasn't a fan. He wasn't a follower. He just saw it and just laid into it. And was like, dude, okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's an open media,
Right.
Yeah,
and
There's no filter these days at
yeah.
all. I mean, if you think something, you just type it out right away, before you even finish thinking about what you're going to
Let me
say.
ask you this question. So all the negative comments I leave up. I want people to own them. Like I could
Yeah.
delete them as a creator. I could delete them, and I don't want people to see them. But like, if you're that brazen enough to put something out there, and I don't know you, all right. I mean, Tawny Katane, who was a model who passed away before my episode with her aired.
Oh, wow.
Right. So I was her last interview.
wow.
I had people saying, I'm glad she's dead. I hope she's worm food. She wasn't that pretty. She wasn't that great. And I mean, she just passed like the week prior. And people are writing
Yeah.
these comments. And I'm like, wow,
That's
somebody you
beautiful.
don't know, and you're in their passing, you're putting him. It's like, wow. I
I,
left them
I
all
think
up.
those people are typically, and you know this, but those people are just missing something in their lives, or there's something that they are miserable about, and
Yeah.
they're not willing to look at themselves, but they put that on everybody else. So
Yeah. So get ready is
yeah,
what I'm saying.
yeah. Well, I mean, like it's like the whole armchair quarterback,
Oh, 100%, right?
and it's easy to sit on your sofa and nitpick what some guy's doing as he's getting pummeled by a 350-pound lineman. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. Well, he should have done this. Well,
Well, you go do it. You go try it.
Well, it's
Show
like
me what.
when I watch UFC people that have never trained, we're watching, and they're like, "Oh, he
right.
could." I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's a little different when you're in there."
We have a really good friend that's he's on the SWAT team, and he actually fought in UFC stuff, and like he's very talented, and so there may or may not have been like a few drinks involved at this point, but we all ended up grappling on the living room floor, and and I'm bigger than he is. Like I'm probably 6 inches
Right.
taller than he is. And within seconds, he had me like I was like,
Right.
please stop.
And you had some pretty serious carpet burns.
I had carpet burn. Yeah, so it's just insane because they train for that, and they know
Yeah,
what you're gonna do next. Like it's not even what they're gonna do; they know what you're gonna do. They know the move you're gonna try to make.
I
And
yeah, I always tell people like when I would train with higher belts in jujitsu, it's like you just said, they knew by me doing this with my arm that they knew what was the next three moves.
right,
And
yeah,
and I would do the same thing when I would train with white belts. I knew why they were doing what they were
right,
doing and how they were
right.
doing it.
Ah.
So
And
it's just
I don't want to say that it's the same at all, but doing what we do, it's very similar. We look at people that are just starting,
yeah,
and we know their next 50 moves. If they're really serious about it.
yeah.
Uh, and then I'm sure that the Blake Sheltons of the world look at us and go, "Oh yeah, I know their next 50 moves."
Right.
It's very similar,
Yeah.
the hierarchy.
And I'm trying to look at everyone else who has it together, Blake Shelton or whoever have you, and figure out, okay, what are those steps? Like, how do I get us from here to there, especially like with social media and things like that.
Correct me if you. I've told my daughters both this when they both graduated college. I was like, because when you graduate college, and so this might equate to a younger artist that's just coming or starting, but no one has it figured out. Like
No.
like in business in the business world, I was at lunch with my daughter, and I go, see that guy right there? He's in his 20s. He's trying to figure out what he wants to really do with his life. See the guy in his 30s, mid 30s. He thinks he might have it figured out, but he wants to make more money than he's making. The guy in the 40s is going, God, did I waste too much time to really do what I want to do in my life? The guy in the 50s is like, why didn't I do, you know what I mean? So and it doesn't matter on money. It's like you could be the Kardashians and have 50, $60 million in the bank and you're still trying to figure it out.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Very wise.
And
well,
I really think filming the show has kind of helped us realize that even more because you have to enjoy the journey. Like, and I know it's very cliche to say that, but you really do have to wake up every day and just enjoy the process. And that's kind of where we are, and that's where we've lived with this whole thing is that, we wanted to reach our golden years and be able to look back and not regret not doing it.
yeah.
And it's worth the risk and the possibility of complete failure. But I guess failure is always subjective because how do you the
Yeah.
we we've really gotten to do things since we moved to Nashville that we would have never ever in a million years had the opportunity to experience, and people that we've met that we would have
Right.
never met.
But
And
it took that leap of faith. It,
yeah,
it was a
100%.
scary, very scary thing to do, especially at that time, to just, we both had comfortable full-time jobs, and we sang on the side on the weekends, and we had a great little life living in a little farmhouse on a horse farm. And, we could still be there.
You
We
threw that
could,
all away.
but we didn't, like Bryan said, we didn't want to get to the end of our golden years together and always wonder, what if, we had this dream and we never acted on it. And
Yeah.
so to make that leap and to do it together, it's been amazing. And you were talking about how do we stay positive? And, sometimes we do get bogged down and, how do we make progress this week or this week? What's next? And it's just good to like wake up with a fresh perspective sometimes and think, wow, we really are doing it. Like,
Yeah.
even if this is as far as we get, we're doing it. Like, we really are.
Well, if you're playing that many shows, it trips me out because I know you guys personally that in a couple of days you're going to be on TV. Like I'm going to watch my friends on TV. That's
yeah,
just bizarre.
Out too a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, we I feel so lucky because the one thing that Leah and I have said from the time we moved or we started thinking about moving to Nashville, we really broke it down. I guess I'm definitely more, I don't want to say I'm analytical, but like I do have the business experience side of things. And so I gave her a list. I was like, this is what we need. I said, we need a look, we need a sound,
We need
we
songs.
need songs, and and we need a brand, like we need to brand ourselves. And after that, we just kept saying, because people at our shows, the biggest the comment that we always get is they love to watch us be in love.
Yeah.
They love to watch how Leah looks at me and then how I look at her. And so we've always said, if we just had an opportunity or a platform to be able to show people who we really are and show them that we are in love and we're doing this together, it would really help expose our music.
Sure.
And now here we are. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's a dream come true.
It's gonna be weird, right? I mean, have you run into much where you're out and about and people go, "Hey, Velvet Rodeo," because I think that's gonna happen a little bit more.
More and more. We
Yeah.
were in South Dakota, of all places, doing a show a couple of months ago. And within the span of 10 minutes, got recognized twice on the way to the airport or in the airport.
In the
It
airport.
was insane. From not seeing us at the show that we did in South Dakota,
Yeah.
just
Somewhere else.
somewhere else or in Nashville or their state. And one person, the first guy that came up, he was so cool about it. I'm not going to make a big deal about this, but huge fan. Would you sign my baseball cap? And it was
Pretty cool.
super
Yeah.
cool. Unreal. It's unreal.
And inside you're going, "Don't make a big deal.
Right.
Make a fuss. It's
Later,
okay."
later he went back to his side of the coffee shop, and I think he had some friends join him, and he was going. You could see him all going. Psst, psst,
Yeah.
And I was like, they're talking about us.
That's when you go, of course I will sign your autographs, Cap. Of course I will. Just loud
Yeah,
enough for everyone
if you
else to
ever
hear.
want to be truly entertained, I
Yeah.
think we need to plan this actually. You should walk with us through the airport.
We should film
Like
it for the
we
show.
should film it for the show. Like I get a kick out of it because I'm either right beside Leah or just right behind her because I like to keep an eye on things, and like I'm carrying some stuff and I let her kind of walk ahead of me, and it's so funny to because I'm people watching,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And everybody is turned like they're like breaking their necks because she's always, looks
Called
amazing.
up.
Always dressed up, even like our casual wears, more than other people's casual wear. And we can't pack our hats in a suitcase. So
No,
we're
you're
wearing
right.
our hats in the airport. And so, yeah, we do get stared at quite a bit. They're trying to figure out, especially him with the sunglasses on. They're like, who is that?
And
Is that Tim McGraw?
and the button downs not being buttoned down.
Yeah, a little something for the ladies.
Uh-huh. Like
So I have a question I know you're normally the one that always asks the questions, but I have a question for you.
sure.
Uh, what do you want to see on the show that we might not think of showing
That's a great
as
question.
a fan?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what's something behind the scenes that you want to see?
I guess part of why I do my show the way I do it and the questions I ask is I want to see you guys talking about getting frustrated, getting a little peeved at each other or at the situation, not parking the not being able to park the bus or the tree line coming up and just to be able to see that we're all kind of in the same boat. Like it's not just, the Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani people photo shoot of their
Right.
on their ATVs and all that and everything's great. It's like I want to see how do you guys get along? I mean, I guess that the true behind the scenes stuff, not the staged reality show stuff.
Right,
Right.
right,
Right.
yeah. And we kind of
And
feel like
drone shots.
And drone shots.
I like my drone shots.
We'll be sure to get those
be
in.
sure to get those in. Yeah, the first episode, I think we we're learning too as we go.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of the process for us is knowing that, by episode 20, we're going to be a lot better than we were at one. So,
Right.
episode one is definitely more feel good. It's more
Mhm.
just introducing us.
Yeah.
But we both said we have to show some of these moments that
And it's so hard because when the belt did break on the way back from the show, you don't think in the middle of like panicking, how are we getting back? And it's pitch black outside. Oh, let me whip the camera out and film this.
How's my hair look?
yeah, but that's what we are doing now.
Right.
We're actually making that a priority so that people can't see that.
Well, I think people will be like, okay, they're like us. Like I and maybe I'm wrong. You look at George Strait and he's got his life set up, and you've got Blake and Gwen, and you've got Tim and Faith, and you're like, oh, they just got this beautiful, perfect lifestyle because that's all they really show you.
And I think that's what's kind of catapulted Jelly Roll to fame
100%.
is that he's relatable.
Yeah.
He did the drugs, he did
And he
all
talks
the
about
things.
it.
Yeah, and he talks about it, and he doesn't try to.
He doesn't hide what his wife did and everything. And
Yeah, I mean, you either like him or you don't, and you
100%.
listen to his music or you don't, and there's not really no apologetics involved.
Right.
And you know what? I know we may have actually talked about this on the first podcast we did with you, but the person you see on stage or at the ACMs this year, when he's just smiling and he's like
Happy to be there.
enjoying being there, that is truly who he is.
He is so genuine and authentic. And we probably told you before, but we had the opportunity to perform with him. We were performing at CMA Fest our first year moving to Nashville, and he was walking by our stage to get to his bigger stage. And Bryan got on the mic and said, "Hey, Jelly Roll, come up and join us." And the security guy wasn't a fan of it, but he kind
Yeah.
of pushed the security guy off and walked up a bunch of stairs to get to us, and took the time to talk with us, and we sang a song together. He's an incredible guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I see, I 100% agree with you, though. A lot of people know the skeletons, because he doesn't try and hide it. He doesn't try and pretend to be this perfect rock star guy. It's like,
Right. I mean, for the most part, Leah and I, this is who we are on and off camera. So, we really do get along
We do.
like 98% of the time.
That 2%, that 2% is whenever we write songs together, because
really?
we'll just be so passionate, and either he'll come up with an idea or I'll come up with an idea, and I'll be so like married to it, and I don't want it to change, and I'll be like, stop changing my idea, or that's not what I thought the song was going to be, or we're learning to be, maybe we're learning but we're learning to be open-minded and being like, okay, the song, it's a great idea, but it can go a totally different direction with the story. But I'm going to call it passionate. We get really passionate writing songs together.
So songwriting's the crux, huh?
That's it.
Yeah, I think just pushing in general, circling back to what we said in the beginning, I think, we're so fortunate that we do get to do this together, but we also have to push each other from a business partner standpoint. And sometimes that's difficult because,
He's a lover.
I do. And I've learned to rephrase how I say things or make sure that I'm saying them in love and not just saying them in a business standpoint.
He does a good job.
See, that's why it's one of the hard times I have with my wife, who's a Pilates instructor, and she treats me just like all the other students, and I'm like, but I'm not. You're like, you know what I mean? It's like it's tough.
Yeah.
Right. I think for us, there's a balance between the business partnership side, and we're also in a relationship, so it's having those conversations about, okay, how did we do this month? How do we do better next month?
What is the most asked question you get?
Are we together?
Yeah, are we together? Like the whole siblings or dating question. They want to know whatever the relationship is. They want to know what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and
no, answer the question.
9 times out of 10, if it's not a young guy, they're rooting for us to be together. They want us to be together.
100%. So you guys are obviously together.
We are.
We are.
We've been together for 6 years now.
Yeah.
6 years.
A long courtship.
I know. Yeah. She did propose though.
But the wooden ring didn't count.
The what?
The wood ring didn't count. Did she give you a wood ring?
So it was leap year. It was leap year, and there's a custom that if you're part Irish, you can propose to the guy on leap year.
Okay.
And so I did. I went out. I bought a ring, got just the right size, and got down on one knee and proposed to him on leap year. And he said yes.
Okay.
But now I'm waiting for his turn. It's only halfway there. We're not engaged yet. It's not official.
Yeah.
It's only halfway there.
We're working on the official,
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
I mean, yeah, we've talked about it. We'll definitely at some point. Yeah, we'll definitely tie the knot.
But like we were talking about earlier, with what extra time would we plan and prepare, and then
I can get you married tomorrow. There's no.
It'll be a party, like when it happens. I think that's what's keeping us from doing it right now. We want everybody there, and just to have everybody there.
Yeah.
Have you talked about children?
No. Right now, I feel like our songs are Velvet Rodeo is kind of our baby right now, kind of the focus of everything.
Because I mean, as the father of 2 girls, it changes your life. I mean, so
Absolutely.
You
And
know,
we both love kids. Brian's great with kids, but
you
right
can borrow mine.
now, Velvet Rodeo is the focus.
I gotcha. Well, I want to ask the questions that I know people are going, how you
Yeah,
can borrow
no, it's good. It's good. Hit us with some more.
mine.
Well, yeah. Is there like something that's more obscure that you want to see other than because I think that's innately going to be part of the show.
The
You know,
songwriting process might be cool.
okay,
You know
okay.
what I mean? Because
Yeah.
like I'm a AI guy. I can write a song in 30 seconds. Doesn't mean it's going to be good, but so what is that process like? I mean, is it doing the music or do you get a hook and you go, oh, I got to make something work to that?
It's different for everybody. And
Yeah.
we both, I think that's another reason that's the only time that we disagree is we both have different writing styles.
Yep.
Like with the song Raising Hell and Hallelujahs, I don't like to pick up an instrument until I have all the song done. Like the melodies in my head, the words are down, because I get distracted. I'll start playing a song I already know how to play. Like like what chord will work. But I like to come up with the words, the melody, and then pick up the instrument to play along with what I've written. And that's just how my brain works. Brian is the complete opposite and won't most of the time won't write a song unless there's a guitar in his hand.
See, that's cool. I think that would be, I mean, I look at it and go, and you can't predict it, but I go, man, I mean, like, what's your all-time favorite country song? Just out of curiosity.
Whew. I feel like that's a moving
Top of
target.
your head, top of your head,
Okay.
just any
Uh,
song, any song,
any song. Oh,
not a Velvet
what
Rodeo
am I
song.
going blank right now? Uh, it's not a country song, but it's one of the first songs I ever learned on guitar. It's Hotel California,
Wow. Okay. Got
and
it.
we do that song at
You
our
really
ship.
learned the whole thing on guitar?
Yes, not like he does it, but
Yeah. Okay.
I did learn it
So
when I was
imagine,
12 years old.
if the Eagles would have had behind the scene cameras as they were doing that song,
Yeah,
right? And you
it'd be
would seen the different verses, and you would have saw Joe Walsh come up with the lead, and Feldman coming out with the rhythm, and doing all the different things, and Henley doing this, and Fry doing the lyrics, and then it becomes a huge hit, and you're like, but I saw how it got built, and it was like, so I mean, like I said, you can't predict it, but to see you at the beginning stages of Raising Hell and Hallelujah, and then sing the final version with the choir and the gospel and all that, I think that would be a kind of a cool thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's just one of those things where it was first thing in the morning, like I wasn't even dressed yet, and
Oh,
just pulled open the
that's a
notebook.
different show.
Yeah, yeah. Probably not one that you
Well,
want to see.
one of the things that we're really excited about, uh, we were actually in the studio this past week, and we've been working on the song for a while. We've had it recorded for a while, but just living with it and trying to think if there's uh, some changes, small changes that we want to make to lyrics or vocals or anything like that. And
Yeah.
had some background singers come in, and they work with the studio a lot. They're actually sisters, and we got to video them laying down their background vocals for this song. So, and I thought about it then, when we're capturing this, it is a moment. It's a moment
Yeah.
of if this song takes off and becomes a huge song, we have that moment of the creation, that, and it's so hard to like,
To
it,
capture.
it's hard to, it's easier now because we all walk around with our, phones and
But
their
still,
cameras and all that stuff, but it's difficult to truly capture a creative moment. And we got it in the studio. So that will be definitely part of actually the
Yeah.
second episode.
that's gonna be awesome. Because there's an artist named John Bellion, and he's a pop guy.
Hmm.
He hasn't performed in 7 years on purpose because of Live Nation. He wouldn't do it for the split. He said, Give me the better split, or I'm not going to perform. I just won't do it." And he didn't. He didn't get the split, and he sat at home for 7 years. I think I saw him on his last tour. He was here in L.A., but he has some really good songs, right? And then you're like, "Oh, that's a great line." He actually was doing what I was talking about. Like he video recorded him making songs And
Right.
so he was like, he had the melody. So I got the melody. Da, 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 da. And you could see him. And the first time he says skeletons in the closet, he's like, oh, I got that. And he writes it down.
Right.
Like, so you saw him literally come up with that lyric. That is one of the big lyrics of his songs.
I regret not turning the camera on when we wrote Heartstrings
Yeah.
because sometimes when you sit down to write a song, sometimes it can take days or, your schedule gets busy and you don't pick it up for a week or two later. And Heartstrings, we wrote what in one day, but it was more like it was one day, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was most of the day, but we kind of
Right.
would write a while and then come back
Yeah.
to it. And
Take a
Yeah.
break back. I do wish, but we weren't sure that that was going to be the version that we
Yeah.
used.
That's what I'm saying. You won't be able to. You hope you can capture lightning in the bottle with
Right.
a big hit that like Hotel California. I'm sure the other 10 songs on that album, you know, weren't Hotel California.
right. Right.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, having the TV show it definitely is an interesting process for us because, it's making us kind of take even more time to enjoy it and I guess just embrace the process.
Yeah. Well, I think you have to, because if you're just going to only embrace the end result, when's that coming?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
When's your end result? When you've played the Opry and Ryman and Red Rocks, and then what?
Yeah.
You
Life
know,
goes on after that. And
100%.
yeah, if you didn't enjoy getting there, then getting there is not as sweet as it could have been, I guess.
Well, I think once you get there, because I do that with my show and with life. It's like, okay, I've gotten this level, and I've now got two grandkids, and all these things are super important, and it's like keep having fun along the way.
Mhm.
So, and you guys seem to be doing a pretty good job of that.
No, we're trying. We are
Yeah.
definitely trying.
Yeah. It is a cool way to see the country and I mean before I had barely been out of North Carolina, I feel like, and now we've been all over the country, California, Texas, and all over the place and trying the foods in different places. I mean, it's amazing like the experiences that we've been able to have through this opportunity.
Okay, I got another question for you. Even as musicians, like there are certain songs that are travel songs. The Traveler by Chris Stapleton, right? Uh,
Mm.
Turn the Page by Bob Seger. I don't know if you know that song.
Oh yes, yes.
Okay. I mean, those are all about life on the road, Faithfully by Journey. If you watch the video, it's the whole thing. It's like them on a bus. So it's like, do you consciously try to write a song that's going to be a travel song? Is that in the
Yeah,
works?
I mean, I think our worlds are uh, determined a lot by BPMs, which is beats per minute.
Yeah.
And so when we write songs, we know we need a 120 BPM song, and that's typically going to be like an upbeat party song that you're playing
Right.
at a
If you
bar
get
or
to a
whatever.
90, you could kind of,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of I don't know. I'll speak for me is when I'm thinking about a song or whatever, and if you want that kind of travel feeling, thing, you're gonna be somewhere between that ballad and that
Right.
120 song. So you kind of know what you're writing for. But the way I write, I mean, I like Leah said, I literally take a guitar and I love a good hook for a song. Like
yeah.
that's my favorite thing. I love a clever hook, and Leah's amazing at coming up with those. And I'll write around that, and then I'll actually play that how I'm going to sing that hook. And to me, that's kind of the bedrock of everything else that happens in the song. So I think the hook, uh,
Good melody.
then you work on the lyrics, right? And that's going to determine whether it's a traveler song.
Okay.
It's I think the song kind of someone explained it one time, and it's a very abstract way of explaining it. I've heard two creative people explain it different ways. One with music, the song already exists. It's just our job to kind of
Translate it.
pull it out of the air and translate it into something that you listen to on the radio.
Yeah.
My dad has been a cabinet builder, wood craftsman his entire life. And someone asked him, how do you carve, something out of wood? And he said, well, you just take a block of wood and you take everything away that doesn't look like what you see. And so I think songwriting is a bit like that. It's that song was meant to exist.
Yeah.
And
That's a totally cool way of looking at it, though.
Yeah.
well, it
That's
takes
deep.
the
Not
pressure
the way
off.
I would do it, but that's why I don't.
I mean, it takes the pressure off a little bit too.
I kind of feel like Heartstrings is a road trip song, especially with the lyrics that are in the first verse.
That's right. I didn't think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's a road trip song.
Yeah.
Have you heard that one?
Oh, yeah, a few times.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. On your trip later, like
Maybe try it out.
try it out. As
Well,
you're driving.
I only have the version that you texted me.
Right.
Oh.
I think literally the first line is "We hit the road."
Yeah. We hit the road, sold everything, worn out bus and whole 6-string. Yeah. But it's yeah. That one's 82.
See, I was close. I said 90.
Mm-hmm.
And I know nothing about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, every interview that we've given, every podcast we've done, and I think most of the people that we've truly met that are country music legends, I think for me, at the end of the day, I said those songs kind of already exist and we're kind of pulling those songs out of the air, but there's a sacrifice involved with that. Just like with anything in life, people have to sacrifice to become an Olympic swimmer, but
100%.
it was what they were always destined and meant to do, I think.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of sacrifice involved. And every time we meet a country music legend, I always mindfully and thoughtfully and with all my heart and soul look at them in the eye and tell them, thank you for what you've done for country music, because it is a huge sacrifice. But at the end of the day, I've always said, as being in my part of Velvet Rodeo, everyone's level of or idea of success is different.
Yeah.
But mine is leaving something behind, being a part of country music, like having that honor to be able to be a part of country music for me is that's success.
Well, of course, that's why I do my show. I mean, it's the same feeling. It's like, what am I leaving behind? I've always told, and I don't know if I've told you it, but if God forbid, something were to happen to me and I can't work anymore, I die, stroke, whatever, right? They would replace me in a matter of days.
Right.
They'd be like, and then I could see my stores, my accounts, and they'd be like, hey, what happened to Pete? Oh, that's too bad. Hey, anyway, so I was going to look for spring. It would just, and so what am I leaving behind besides that?
Yeah.
That's really why I started the show.
Yeah.
Because my granddaughters are going to be able to watch their grandpa talk to Velvet Rodeo, the famous country duo, and they're going to be able to brag to their friends that their grandpa knew him, went back when.
Right. I mean, really, and that we're looking at the TV show that way too. That it's kind of a living diary of our journey together.
We'll be able to look back on it in many, many years and see where we were and how far we've come. And
yeah, I think that's the one regret. I wish I had, like, back when I was a kid, cameras and video cameras were really expensive. And like it was the kind of equipment that my dad would say, don't touch the camera.
Right.
And you knew exactly what he meant. It was like, don't touch it. But now it's like everyone's recording everything. Like I see pictures of my granddaughters, I'm like, and videos of them, and I'm like, I don't have any of that. Because like even in the 90s, early 90s, you weren't walking around with a camera on your phone.
mm-hmm.
So it's changed.
Yeah. I mean, the music industry has kind of been diluted by that, because
Yeah.
now, and the movie industry and every industry really,
The
any
movie industry is hurting bad right now, really
well,
bad.
any creative industry has really suffered because there's so many songs out there in any genre. Like I think there's, uh, I I don't even know what the number is now, but I think I heard at one point it was like, you know, 20,000 songs are uploaded every day or something like
Wow.
that. So how do you
Get a good
how
one
do
in.
you find your way through that mix as an artist? How do you break through that?
Yeah, well, if you figure that out,
Yeah,
In a way that's not paying to be playlisted, like on certain playlists and all of that.
but I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, you wouldn't mind if Raising Hell and Hallelujah was on the country top 100
Oh,
playlist,
that would be amazing.
right?
no,
So how do you make that happen? I mean, I guess that's the question, right? That's
sure.
the
I mean, at the end of the day, money's always involved
Right.
because it's marketing and it's putting yourself out there, and that's obviously that's like I said before. I think that's the opportunity, and we recognize that it's a huge opportunity to have this show,
yeah,
because it's going to introduce people to our music and it's going to introduce them to our love story and our story as Velvet Rodeo, and looking back over the last 6 years and the ups and the downs of becoming Velvet Rodeo, becoming Nashville's country music
Right.
sweethearts. And so yeah, it's like I said, it's a huge opportunity, and I don't even think we know. I don't think we know what it's going to do for us.
do this podcast and other, just like any other podcast that you guys do or whatever, it'll be, you can go back in 2023 and watch our first one and be like, oh my God,
Right.
that's gonna be interesting.
Hopefully, we've gotten better.
Oh,
Hopefully, maybe Adam.
goodness. That it's hard. I don't know about you, but it's hard for me to watch myself. Like I've
I
never
can't
gone
do it.
back and watched a podcast that we've done. We have not done that.
I'll tell you a fun fact. I haven't told anybody. When I was in the LA Film Festival, and they wanted me to put together clips of my show and all that. And then I was actually on a big screen at Cinemark downtown LA, downtown live. I was
Right.
on this a big screen. I'd say half of those were the first time I was watching it back
Right.
because I just don't want. I'm like I was there. I don't need to watch it back
Right.
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 because
Right.
all I'm going to do is look at myself and criticize. Oh, I should have said this. Oh, I wish I would have had that question
Right.
out.
Right. And same for us. Like
Well, I don't do it. So when
I
I'm sitting in the movie theater with other people watching myself on stage, on the screen, I'm like, oh, this is weird.
I think like when we first started and we first started really recording music in Nashville, I think we were like that a little bit with our songs. But
listening to
now,
the songs. Yeah, I think you have to get over that pretty quick.
Yeah.
And
I can hear myself back. Like I listen back and I'll change the edit audio and big pauses and all that. But as far as watching, I'm just like, ah, cringy.
yeah, yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
You have to do that in front of other people with your watch party.
it makes you better.
I want to
I didn't
see,
think about that.
I want to see Brian, I want to see the camera on Leah while she's watching Heartstrings for the first time.
Oh yeah, that might happen. Yeah, it makes you better.
It
I
does.
will say
It
that
should.
it makes you better. I
Yeah.
feel, you know, uh, when we're doing shows and if we record ourselves doing a show, it's
Yeah.
difficult to watch back because there's moments where you may have gone flat or you may have hit the wrong chord on the guitar or whatever.
Or you just didn't like your posture.
Right.
I mean, I remember seeing the video one time, and it was back when I used to play the keyboard more at the shows, and I'm like, I really don't like how I'm like hunching over the keys, and like seeing that one video changed how I played the keyboard, forever after that.
That's why you don't know what to do with your hands. Now I got it.
Right. That's right.
You're
know,
waiting for,
I'm not a quick learner.
you're looking for a keyboard. I got you. You always had the keyboard to cover it up. I got it.
Right. Right.
You have to
So,
bring the keyboard back out.
I know. When are we going to be able to come out to LA? Like that's big.
Whenever
Maybe
you
we should go
want.
out there.
Come on out. I'm not a booker. I mean, I can't get you gigs, but Don't, I mean,
Every time I come across a thrift store or vintage store online that's in LA, I always save it. I'm like, one day when we go visit Pete and play a show over there, gonna visit all these thrift stores and vintage stores.
just have some money.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's just a small problem.
We did that when we went to Japan. My wife, we went to a city called Osaka, which is just south of Kyoto, and we spent the first day just shopping. And they had, I think we probably went into 35 secondhand vintage stores. And I mean, it was like Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Birkin, Hermes. I mean,
okay.
it wasn't like, it was, imagine seeing Louis Vuitton's bags, handbags, and purses and wallets stacked up, just piled up because there's so many, and they're not that nice compared to the Birkins and the Hermes bags that were up on the wall that were 40, $30,000. So they put the $1,000 Louis down on the just, I mean, literally just stacked up on top of each other, and you're like, wow, where am I?
I think that would make a very interesting show is to go to a thrift store in like North Carolina
Yeah,
and then go to a thrift store in California and then go to a thrift store in,
Japan or
yeah,
Right.
Australia or
Now,
Beijing.
thrift and vintage are two different things, right?
No, I mean like because I think it would give you like a time capsule of the community or the people that live there.
yeah, it's 100% because some of this, I mean, I'm in the clothing business, so it was like I would go into these stores and I'm like, that's like 1985, that's 1990, oh, that's 2000s. That's I saw some Roper boots and I'm like, oh my God, they're in a vintage store, and I'm like, they're not that old.
Well, the funny thing, we hear it all the time. They're like, "Oh, we should go to a Goodwill while we're in Nashville because we can get like some boots and hats and shirts and like really
Well,
nice
that was my thought when we
Western
moved here.
Not so
wear."
much. Do you know you remember border shirts, border prints?
No,
Uh,
I don't
so like
really.
there'll be like blue on the bottom and white on top with a horse running across the front or
Oh
whatever.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay.
There's like
Yeah,
George Strait.
Garth Brooks kind
Yeah,
of. Yeah,
Garth Brooks, exactly. So
yeah,
that was 90s, right?
yeah.
They our designers hated, they came back and became fashionable again. And they're already going back out now, I guess. But uh they came in fashion because what was happening was college kids were going into Goodwills and Salvation Armies and buying old shirts that they could afford. They
Right,
were buying the shirts that the wives were like, get rid of that that Garth Brooks border print. Just get rid of it. It's not.
right. You're
So they
never
were
gonna.
out buying those for $4 or $5. So a lot of the college rodeos and even the high school rodeos, all these kids were starting to wear border prints.
It's
And they
funny.
literally came back in fashion. Our designers had to start redesigning border prints. And they're like, I'd never do that again.
That's too funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's all because of vintage buying, vintage clothing, and not that's more thrifting, you know, but
Yeah.
it's crazy. Oh, well, I mean, have you ever heard of Nudie's tailors?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, if you ever find anything, I think I told you I saw one of his shirts in a thrift store here in LA, and I didn't buy it. It was like $95. And at the time I was like, I'm not spending $95 on a shirt that doesn't fit me. It's like, what am I gonna do? Hang it up on the wall? And then I go out in people's places and they're all hanging up on the wall. I'm
Yep.
like, damn it.
Do me a favor if you ever see one again,
Yeah, yeah, I know.
I'll give you the money. How
Yeah,
about
I
that?
know. I
Because
know.
we used to play at the Nudie's Honky Tonk
Oh, that's
downtown
right. You did.
Broadway, and
It's actually like it's a I've made it moment for me. If I could find a nudie shirt,
right.
That's
like it,
yeah. It wouldn't
it's
have fit you either. It was too
but
small.
you know what I'm saying though, like I really do want one that I mean that just because it was such a huge part of our
Yeah.
life when we moved to Nashville was playing at Nudie's.
One day we'll keep checking eBay.
Next to John Bon Jovi's new place.
Yeah, yeah, we were actually playing on the rooftop when they were building it,
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. It's like
jackhammers and all that. Yeah, fun times.
well, it was fun for the people that bought that. That was a parking lot.
Right. Yeah.
Because I had the guy on the show that developed that property.
Right. Yeah, you were.
Oh.
You remember you telling us about? Yeah. So
He
I,
literally was driving down the street and saw a parking lot. And he was a commercial developer, and he bought it and built a restaurant.
sadly, we have not been in it yet. So
I haven't either. So
yeah.
maybe I'm going to try and go into it. And when I'll be out there in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to spend one night in Lower Broadway.
Okay.
Got to see the grandbabies first, but
Well, let us know. Let us know when you're here,
you,
and
you won't be there.
probably not, but let us
I
know
already
when
checked.
you're
I
We
can tell you
might
it
be
was
here.
July 20th or 21st, something like that. And you guys were going to be in Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're out.
Right. We might be making, depending on filming schedules, we might be making a few trips back, but it's supposed to be out.
I'll definitely be texting you guys. Let
All
you
right.
know.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So let's see. You got Heartstrings, the show on ACN coming out on the 3rd. So just download the channel. It's ACN. It's got a red pick.
That's correct.
So
American Country Network. You can search for either. You can search American Country Network or for ACN. And once you download the app, you'll see the live stream option available. And they usually play if they're not playing a show, they're playing live. They're playing country music videos
yeah.
24/7.
So I was going to ask you, is your show going to air like regular TV? Like it's going to air at 8 o'clock in Central, but are they going to re-air it for the next 2 weeks until the next episode comes out? Or is it just that?
Absolutely.
It'll have time
Okay.
slots for the next 2 weeks, and then I think after the 2 weeks, it goes to their video on demand,
I was
which
going to
is
say the library. Yeah.
the library down below. It'll be there, and then after that, it'll go to YouTube
Cool.
and social media. So
So you got that. You got the new album, Raising Hell or Hallelujah.
right,
I want to
both,
be careful with that one.
both.
Mm.
And then you got gigs coming up. I mean, you
Right.
literally have the full package.
We're juggling a lot of things right in the air right now. So
Yeah.
which is good. It's
It
great.
is good. It's exactly what we wanted. So
But you've worked very hard to get to this point. So
We have, yeah. We told each other when we signed with the record label, we looked at each other and we're like, all right, well now the real work begins.
that's right.
man.
Right.
Yeah, and that's I'm so glad you guys got lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks.
All that hard luck. What else
Oh,
what else do you got coming up? Do you have any more award shows coming up or
well, we do have we are nominated again for Country Music Duo
okay.
for the Josie Awards here in Nashville at the Opry.
Right.
And then we have a lot of filming to do. That's really going to consume our time between now and the end of the year. The episodes will go till December. So a lot of filming to do. Yeah, we'll have 12 episodes between now and the end of the year.
That's right. We have a lot of more rodeo shows coming up. I think the last rodeo is in October of this year.
Okay. Yeah, that's about right.
We'll be traveling other places in between the rodeo shows.
It usually end right around there because then everyone's getting ready for NFR, the
Right.
Vegas rodeo. Get your label to get you out to Vegas for the rodeo.
I know we would love it. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Drive down the Las Vegas Strip with a Velvet Rodeo on the side or something.
Well, we actually have his name is Sam Riddle. We'll have to get you guys hooked up. He's an artist out of Vegas, and he's also on our label. And just a great guy, great guy. And he's kind of doing the commute thing back and forth to Nashville
Yeah.
to record and all that good stuff. But where is it that he?
The MGM.
Yeah, the MGM I think is where he usually has
That's
a
where,
show there. So,
that's where we usually stay. We didn't
Oh,
last year for the first time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have to work with him to see if we can make all that happen for NFR this year.
Yeah, somehow squeeze in. I mean, now, amazingly, Old Reds is there right on the strip, and Jason Aldean's place opened up last year. And
Okay.
then you have Stoney's, which is it's on the strip, but it's further down. So I mean, there's 3 country music bars
Okay. Okay.
on the strip.
Yeah.
And Old Reds is cool. I guess it's like the one in Nashville where
Yeah,
it's
super
three
cool.
stories and
Great layout.
Yeah, they did
yeah.
a great job with that that venue.
So make that happen. Stop messing around.
Right. All right. We're gonna make it happen.
We also are looking for national sponsors for the show.
Okay.
Like I said, it's going to be pushed out to 40-ish million people. So we think it, would best fit like a more of a national brand, but we're looking for sponsors for the show. So if anybody wants the exposure and, you know, may fit the Velvet Rodeo brand, um, we think we're good ambassadors for brand.
100%.
So yeah.
100%. You know, I'm just curious. Would you be against certain companies or industries to be sponsors?
I mean, I think it would.
It would have to make sense with our branding a little bit.
Well,
I mean,
I think more on the opposite of like there's certain things we probably wouldn't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. And that would be a shorter list, but the list would exist. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
I just wonder because I like people ask me all the time, "Oh, you should get a sponsor for the show and this and that," and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that I want to mess with it. It's like,
I mean, well, you know us. I mean, we've talked about this before, but part of the lifestyle, the what we consider country music lifestyle. I know that's not across the board these days,
we
but
have to have this. We have to have that talk.
The Velvet Rodeo lifestyle is kind of the rodeo lifestyle, which is the cowboy lifestyle, and we lean into that. We lean into the whole Western kind of thing, and you know, as you know, this is how we go to the grocery store or anything else. I mean, we this is who Velvet Rodeo is. So when we want, truthfully, we want to align ourselves with brands that obviously are tied in with that lifestyle. That's
Yeah.
optimal. But if, Home Depot comes along and wants to sponsor Heartstrings,
Yeah.
then
Home
we're
Depot
not
is.
we're not going to be, heartbroken over that.
Yeah.
We buy our home stuff at Home Depot or
And
I
if
mean,
it's Lowe's, it's Lowe's. If it's Ace Hardware, it's Ace Hardware.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think, you're loyal to the people that are supporting you and
Heck yeah.
and you represent them well. And that's honestly at the end of the day, that's what we want to do is
Well, and I think that's why I mean, regardless of my show, you you guys getting more exposure, especially like being on the show, is going to show people that you're good people, and Leah doesn't swear too much, if ever.
right.
So I mean, you guys are good people, so I think that's what as a brand they have to be nervous about that nowadays because
Yeah.
the brand could get canceled because they sponsor you.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that happen with, Bud Light and,
Yeah, a whole bunch.
overnight, it was just, it just blew up and you do have to be careful, I think, as a brand and
Right. Who's representing you? Everyone's being filmed all the time. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, God, you get into the Hawk to a girl and a whole bunch of crazy stuff.
I know, yeah, that whole thing was really crazy, how she turned that around. So,
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
well,
Mhm.
Then we'll see. Yeah. Anyways, her Bitcoin and all the other stuff.
yeah. Yeah, she got some bad advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or she took bad advice.
Sounds like it.
Well, and then you sit and you go, and she's 22, 23. I was an idiot at that age.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
just a
Flat
kid.
out, I was stupid. So if someone would have said, "Hey, we can make $20 million in a couple of weeks," I'd be like, "Yes, please."
Right.
I always say that about like people are like, "Oh, Justin Bieber this or Britney Spears this and Taylor Swift that." I'm like, I can't even comprehend being world famous at 18, 19, 20, being a
Right.
multimillionaire at 20 or 21.
Yeah. I
It'd
don't
be
know
so
how.
much worse than them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, how
Thing.
would you be? It's like, it's crazy.
I think the most difficult part, and I think it you see it a lot with celebrities in general, is when you have that much money or you have that much fame, there's very few people around you in your life that tell you no.
100%.
And so that gets exponential when you're 20 years old because that's when you need to be told no, or, or you
Yeah,
should
yeah.
be.
And that's not a good idea.
Yeah, right. So, but yeah, I think Leah and I are amazing representatives of any brand. But more specifically, we love this lifestyle so much, and we live it.
Yeah.
Uh, it's part of who we are. So when we find something that we truly believe in, as far as a hat or jeans,
Right.
or
We're proud to wear it. We're proud
yeah,
to be, representatives.
That's, well, we've had that talk, and I have to be very careful with that. Because there are some people that aren't that way.
oh, for
Right.
sure, yeah. But yeah. So if anybody's watching your podcast and wants to be a part of Heartstrings, they can get in on the ground floor.
What's the best way for them to reach out to you guys?
Our website, velvetrodeo.com, or they can go to ACN as well. They can go to the ACN website and get in contact with them directly too. But we have an advertising deck we can email out within a minute or so. So
Yeah.
uh, yeah, if people have questions, probably the website's the best place to go.
Okay. What's the social media platforms?
We have Instagram,
Is it
Facebook,
Velvet Rodeo or is it?
Velvet Rodeo Official's Instagram.
and
Okay.
then Velvet Rodeo on Facebook and Velvet Rodeo on TikTok,
Cool.
and our YouTube as well.
Yeah,
Easy as it gets, right?
easy, easy.
Well, thank you so much for the time. I ate up a lot of your time. So
It's okay.
you're sweating in the tin can there.
Oh no,
We,
it's all
we,
good.
we were looking for something to do with all our downtime.
Oh,
I, I say go for more drone shots, but that's just me.
Okay,
drone
okay.
shots.
More drone shots. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need more
And my
camera.
wife's gonna love that I'm saying that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, tell her we said hello.
Yes, thank you for
Absolutely.
coming.
Yeah,
We'll have to plan the Vegas thing, I think. We'll have to
I think so.
yeah, we will.
kind of do the that way it can be a business write-off, get some exposure,
Right?
say hi in person, get some
I
food.
think we should make playing at NFR happen this year and film it for the show.
That's what
I'm
I'm
just gonna,
saying.
I'm gonna manifest that, speak it into existence for this year.
You should reach out to Wrangler because it's the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. It's a WNFR technically. We don't,
Oh,
Okay.
as another brand, we don't ever say WNFR because
right.
F them. But yeah, it's technically the Wrangler National Final Rodeo, so
Okay.
it's called Wrangler.
I'll
do
call
that.
them up right after
Well,
we are done here.
We'll
I'll
have
call
our people talk to their people.
I'm looking at your people.
I know.
them. Like she said.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, yeah, we'll definitely keep pushing along, man. I'm super happy for you guys. I'm so happy to see the success that's coming down the road for you guys.
Thank you so much.
Well deserved. Well deserved. Well worked.
Yeah, thank you, and same to you.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It's been great catching up.
Yeah, yeah. Good 2 hours worth. Sorry about that.
No worries, no
Didn't
worries.
realize it. So thanks again, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right,
All
sounds
right.
good.